Hi everyone. So today's session is really just going to be on the different parts of speech. My name is Katrina and I am going to be taking you through the session today. So firstly, really, just make sure that you have a pen and paper in front of you because I will be getting you to do some activities as we kind of go along. And also it might be quite nice for you to just make a few notes as well. Now, really, the intention behind this session is just to develop your knowledge and skills in using descriptive language, but also just as a bit of a refresher on the different parts of speech, because it is often something that, even though we learn in primary school, we tend to, as we get older, we tend to just forget about these kind of different parts of the speech, but they are integral and they are most important in making sure that your writing is as descriptive as it can be. So, what are the different parts of the speech? So just to start us off, I would like you to just pause here for about 2 minutes or so and see if you can match up the parts of the speech with the definition. So just pause the video here and come back once you have done that. Okay, welcome back. I hope you found that quite useful. We will be going through some of the answers to these in a little while. Well, now, so essentially, this is what you should have matched up as. So a noun is it's often known as a naming word. The way that I like to remember it is that the N at the beginning of noun is very similar to, obviously, name. So noun is a naming word. Pronoun is used in place of nouns, and we will come on to the differences between nouns and pronouns later on. A verb is often, they are often doing words. And again, we will come on to adverbs as well, which are, they run alongside verbs a bit later on. Adjective, everybody should know, are describing words. Prepositions, interestingly, is something that you learn again in primary school. But a lot of the time when you are writing creatively, you can often forget to just kind of give that extra detail that someone is sitting on a chair or that someone is under the table. So prepositions really they're just words that describe locations or directions. So as I say, on something, under something, behind as well is another preposition. It's just anywhere that kind of gives you that detail as to what someone is doing, where they're sitting, where they're standing, they're leaning against anything. And also how long they're going to be as well. So, for example, you could say that Susan is going to be here in 10 minutes. That would be an example of a preposition because they're saying that you are aware that there's somebody who's going to be arriving, and that's the amount of time frame that they're going to be arriving in. So it's a bit of a tricky one, but it expands across a lot of different aspects, different areas, I suppose. Antonyms are words with opposite meaning, so hot, cold, night, day. And synonyms are words with similar meanings, so it will be calm, tranquil, cold and freezing, things like that. So again, these are the different parts of speech. So there's nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, prepositions, antonyms, and synonyms, and that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on today. So a noun then. Nouns are sometimes called naming words because they name people, places, and things. So, for example, the castle was built in the centre of Norwich. Castle is the thing, Norwich is the name of the place. Some other examples are London, Paris, Howard, Paul, Amy. So again, any names of things. Kitchen, beach, hotel, box, photo. So this is where it starts to get a little bit complicated, I suppose, because there are some different types of nouns. So there are common nouns, which they're just general names of places and things. So things like book, dog, boy, table, chair, floor, just the general names of things, I suppose. There are proper nouns, which are names of a particular person, place, or thing. These always begin with a capital letter because that is the proper way. I suppose you could, if you want to remember it in that way, that's the proper way to start them. If you were kind of addressing somebody or writing someone's name, you would always start with a capital letter because it's naming that person. Collective nouns are Nouns that are used to refer to a group of something. So a team, a family, class, friends, a group of friends, pack as well. And abstract nouns are names of things that cannot be touched. So things that are obviously there, so air, as I've put as well, wisdom, health, anger, feelings, and things like that. But they're abstract nouns. You cannot physically touch them, but they are still a name of something. They're still something that has been assigned a label to. So pronouns then are often used in place of nouns. Pronouns are used in place, so personal pronoun is used in place of persons or things in a sentence. So that would be I, you, he, she, it, they. And then alongside that as well, there are possessive and interrogative pronouns. So possessive pronouns are used to show possession over something or ownership of a noun in a sentence. So this bed would be the noun. So this bed over here is mine. So then that's the possessive pronoun, is mine, because you are saying that that bed, which is the noun and the thing, is yours. Interrogative is usually used for asking questions. So who made this mess? What did you buy today? So it's anything where you're interrogating somebody, essentially. Verbs then. So verbs are often called doing words because they often name an action that someone does. So he lives in Birmingham. He wrote a song. He rode a bike. He ran down the hill. In verbs then as well, there are also adverbs. So adverbs modify or describe the verb or the adjective. So Tom is very tall. Tom did not run badly. So in the second example there, Tom did not run. Run is the verb because that's what he is doing. But he didn't run badly. So that's just describing what he is doing, essentially. And again, the way to kind of remember that is that adverb is literally, it's just a combination of add and verb, two separate words pushed together is really quite a nice way to remember that. So it's essentially just an addition onto the verb. It's a description of the verb, an adjective of the verb, you could say. And again, just some examples here. So discover, accept, admire, borrow, walk, jump, shot, reviewed, managed. So anything where you are describing what you are doing or what someone is doing. Adjectives then, everyone should know this. Adjectives are words used to describe nouns. They're often just kind of known as just describing words. So happy baby in a blue dress laughed excitedly. So obviously happy, blue and excitedly are the adjectives. So yes, of course, this does extend to colours and things like that because it's describing something. Some other just examples then. So monstrous, attractive, plain, dull, curved, narrow, round, square, deafening, soft, ancient. There's many more to that, of course. But that one is one that everybody kind of generally knows and can remember. So prepositions. Again, as I said, they describe locations or directions, but can also describe relations of time. So she arrived after dinner. The baby sat on the table. She'll be back from Australia in 2 days. So as you can see, it's really just gives that extra bit of detail of what someone is doing, where they are positioned. Again, I suppose you could, if you wanted to try and remember it, or you wanted a way to try and remember it, prepositions, positions, both begin with a P. So there we go. It's as simple as that. So often, you can find ways around, I guess, understanding them and remember them in that way, because sometimes it will kind of give you a bit of a hint in the word itself. So that's how I like to remember it. Prepositions, positions, same, really. And then just some more examples. So up, down, on, under, back, in front, behind, things like that. Antonyms and synonyms, as I've already said, antonyms are words with opposite meanings and synonyms are words with similar meanings. So hot, cold, thick, thin, light, dark, light, heavy, they're all opposites of each other. Synonyms are words, as I said, with similar meanings. So sad, miserable, angry, irate, cold, freezing, hard, durable. They all have a similar meaning. They all mean exactly the same thing. and they can all come underneath that umbrella of, you know, that similar kind of meaning, whereas antonyms, they are complete opposites. And again, to remember these, so antonyms are anti, I guess. If something is anti something, you are against it. Synonyms, similar. There we go. Another easy way to try and remember those. So this is just an example of making a sentence more descriptive. So Aidan and Noah went to the park. The park was very big. It had a climbing frame in the middle. That is just a very kind of basic sentence. It's very easy to understand. It's telling you kind of what is going on, but it doesn't give you any detail about what the climbing frame looks like, how they decided to go to the park or anything like that. It doesn't give you anything really. It is just a standard sentence. So to make it a bit more descriptive, you can obviously, of course, include some dialogue. So, would you like to go to the park? Aidan asked Noah excitedly. Yes, please, Noah replied, a large gleeful smile spreading across his face. For the boys, who were still relatively young and small in stature, the park was an enormous, fun-filled square of wonder and adventure. At its centre sat a tall, majestic, wooden climbing frame made up of platforms of differing heights, ropes that hung like snakes over the sea of blue gravel below. So there, as you can see, just adding in those little bits of adjectives and, you know, just that little bit extra description, the prepositions, the different verbs and nouns, you know, it just builds up the whole picture of what it is that's going on, what this place looks like, and allows the reader to just visually see that. Like you can start to imagine that in your head, what is kind of going on there and what this park might look like. So I'm going to get you to do another little activity now. What I'd like you to do is just focus on this image. So pause the video here, give yourself about 5 minutes and write down as many adjectives as you can to describe this image. If you write down something such as blue or warm, think of some synonyms for that as well. So don't just put down one word and be, you know, fine with that. Put down a few words for that word as well. Just kind of collect together as many adjectives as you can to describe this image. So as I say, give yourself about 5 minutes and then come back to this video and we will move on. Okay, welcome back. So I hope you managed to get a good list of those. I'm going to now ask you to do the same for this picture. So again, write down as many adjectives as you can think of for this picture. If you write down cold, for example, as well, what else can you use instead of cold? How else could you say cold? So again, give yourself another 5 minutes and then come back to this video. So welcome back. So I will share with you some of the adjectives that I've put together for these two images. So for the first one then, peaceful, but also serene, tranquil, natural, warm, sweltering, forest green, but also sapphire for the sea, sandy, desirable, comfortable, isolated, but also secluded and quite remote, beautiful, attractive, luxurious, but also aesthetically pleasing. So it's you know, really it's just a collection there of ways that you could describe it. There's, of course, again, there's many more kind of describing words that you could use for these pictures. But this is just to give you a bit of an example. So the next one then, cold, but also freezing, sub-zero, snow, yes, but also there could have potentially been a blizzard. It can make you kind of think of a blizzard. Fresh as well, even though it is cold, it'd be quite fresh. Archaic, because obviously mountains are quite old. Majestic, unsteady, looks a little bit, you know, it doesn't look smooth. It's quite sharp and it's quite jagged. Regal, so I've put regal because it's quite similar, I suppose, to, or you'd think of royalty when you think of anything that's regal. But the reason that I put that is because it's quite, as I've then put underneath, it's quite a prominent structure. And I suppose that's quite similar to the royals, you know, they're quite prominent in our country and in other countries who also have royalty. And therefore there's that kind of regalness around them. And then therefore this mountain as well. Protruding, because obviously it's come up from the earth, it's there, you can see it. Excursion. So the reason again that I say excursion is because if you were to hike up this mountain, it would be a bit of an excursion. You know, it would be something that you would want to do it every day, essentially. And again, remote, isolating, challenging as well, if you were to climb up it, and also perplexing, because I suppose if you then wanted to think about it a little bit further, it's almost like you, I guess, if you did really think about it, as I say a bit further on, it's quite awe-inspiring that the world can create something like this. So some people might become quite perplexed by that. Okay, so moving on then. What I would now like you to do, just to finish off this session, is to write a descriptive paragraph for this image. So have a little look at this image and just write a description of it. You can start this however you want. You can start with what you can see kind of initially in the middle of the picture, which is the building, or you can start from one side of the picture and move across. You can turn it into a story if you want to do that, if you find that easiest to describe something. But really the idea behind this activity is just to get you to use a range of vocabulary and to explore creative writing a little bit. So try and include all of the parts of speech that we've looked at. Think about using the 5 senses as well. So what can you see, but also what might you be able to smell? What might you be able to hear? What does it feel like? Is there a breeze in the air? Use of prepositions. So is there somebody inside the building? Is there somebody on the lake? There is a little group of people in amongst the trees. Are they sitting on the floor? Are they standing? Things like that. Antonyms and synonyms as well, to kind of just explore new different descriptive language. And just, to challenge yourself a little bit more, if you really wanted to, I suppose, just to extend yourselves and to, as I say, give yourself a challenge, using that paragraph once you've finished it, writing another descriptive paragraph using an antonym for your descriptive words, and just kind of think, okay, what does this do to the tone and the meaning of this piece? And hopefully through that, it will just start to get you realizing that, word choices, it's important. Your word choices are important because they can completely change the meaning of what it is that you want to convey and what it is you want to describe. So I would say to not really set yourself a time limit for this. Take your time with it, because it's something that you have to do kind of in your own time. Again, of course, you can revisit this session whenever you like. It is available on Satchel One for you guys to view. So if you need any kind of refreshing on some of the different parts of speech again, then of course feel free to go back through. But I hope that you have found this useful, and I hope you find this final activity useful as well. And we hope to see you again next time. Thank you very much for watching and for your patience. And yeah, as I say, we will hope to see you again soon.